From ONTRAM, Annika Schwarting. She's working as a business development manager, and she will share the translation memory feedback, and we will learn more from her. Then we have Loïc René from SYSTRAN.
Hello, everyone.
He's sitting next to me. And lastly, we will have one of our customers speaking at CLAAS. So Olaf, we are very glad that Olaf can be here today to share his return on experience on both technologies. So Annika, the floor is yours. Please move to the next slide and begin this interesting feedback.
Thank you, Alice. So, hi and welcome, everybody. As Alice already mentioned, my name is Annika Schwarting. I'm with ONTRAM, and what we want to do today is show you a quick comparison of the technologies of translation memory and machine translations. What I'm also going to do is show you a little live demo of our software that's called ONTRAM. And how it interacts with the SYSTRAN MT engine and how you can really leverage TM, so translation memory, and machine translation. Afterwards, Loïc is going to tell you a little bit more about SYSTRAN and its MT engine and how to improve translation quality within the system. And then afterwards, Olaf will give us a testimonial on how they are using ONTRAM and also SYSTRAN at CLAAS. And as Alice already mentioned, we have some time reserved at the end for questions and answers, so feel free to type in your answers in the little questions panel in the GoToWebinar panel, and then we will be able to answer them afterwards. Okay, because we have quite a variety of listeners, so coming from different backgrounds, I just want to give you a quick overview of what translation memory is and means and what machine translation is. So, a translation memory, also often called TM, is, to put it simple, a big database. So it's a storage of source text and its corresponding translations. And those are stored in so-called language pairs. So, for example, you have a German source text and its English translation, the German source text and its Spanish translation. So those are called translation units, and this is how they are put into the database for later reuse. You might have heard the terms 100% matches and fuzzy matches. And this is quite common slang when talking about translation memory and translation memory matches. So if you have a source language text, like let's say the red car, and then you have at a later point another translation for the red car, then what you can do is you can do a translation memory lookup, and you will be presented 100% match because you're translating the exact same thing. But if you have a source text that is the red car, now you're trying to find a translation for the blue car. Well, it's not the exact same thing, it's a similar match. So this means we have a fuzzy match. Those are typically assigned percentage values. So you might find translators talking about something 90% matches or 78% matches, and those are called fuzzy matches. Those 100% matches and fuzzy matches are presented to the translator when he or she is translating a new document or a new file. So what's happening is when using translation memory technology is that you are doing a computer-aided translation. So there's still a human involved, so human intervention is still needed in order to adopt the text and to edit the text accordingly. On the other hand, we have machine translation, MT. I know that's quite confusing, having TM and MT as the abbreviations, but machine translation could also be called automated translation. And what's happening there is that we have no human involvement whatsoever, so the machine is doing the translations. So you have software that is used to translate the text from one language into the other. So, of course, both of those technologies have pros and cons. So if you're using translation memory technology, you have, as I said, a computer-aided translation. Because there is human intervention, this means you have a high quality of translation and you also have consistency. So the translation memory helps with that, with the consistency, but of course the human translators are also helping with that because they know how a company like CLAAS, for example, want their harvesters and balers to be named and what language to use. For the machine translation, as I said, this is an automatic translation, so that means, of course, we are a lot faster. So speed is really one of the key advantages there, and of course, time is money. So if you're faster translating, that also means that we have cost effectiveness there. But of course, quality and consistency issues may arise. So there are possibilities to circumvent that. Luke will talk about that, but this has to be kept in mind. So a possible solution that I am going to present to you today is the use of a translation management system like ONTRAM. ONTRAM comes with process, workflow, and quality assurance features, and that makes sure that we don't have any translation missing, for example, that the translation is correct also within the context that is provided, because as you know, context is key when doing a translation work, because you might have different meanings for one word within the source language and you have to choose the correct equivalent in the target language. And also make sure that your translation is consistent with previous translations. So, for example, that on every page on your website, for example, a translation is the same. Okay, so what we are going to do now is we are going to switch to ONTRAM, and I'm going to give you a little live demo of how that looks within the system. Okay, so everybody should be seeing my login screen, and what I want to do today is give you a little round trip, so to speak. So we are going to log in, create a translation job, and then have a look at how it looks like within ONTRAM. And I'm going to tell you a little bit how that works along the way. Okay, so when you're logging into ONTRAM, what you can see here are different tiles with the most used functionalities. In this case, for a project manager, you can see my user menu up here. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to create a translation job with you. So we have here the job group structure. This means there are a lot of default settings living within those groups, and I just selected one group for this demo today. You can see here default settings. This would be source language German, target language English, and what I'm doing now is I'm uploading a file from my computer. Let's take this one. This is an InDesign file. So ONTRAM has a pretty strong InDesign integration. It's connected to an InDesign generation server in the background. So what's happening now is after the file is uploaded onto the ONTRAM server, it's creating the translation job within ONTRAM. So it's extracting all the text that is to be translated and then displays that for the translator within ONTRAM. We have the possibility of a live preview at later points. I will also show you that when we have a look at the ONTRAM editing. Okay, so job is uploaded. You can see here InDesign job 4 pages, and I can also have additional options here. For example, I can say, well, I need this translation really quickly. I need that done by tomorrow. And end of proofreading should be on Friday. Let's say Thursday, sorry. Okay, you can also see here that we have different workflow roles. Workflows are fully customizable with an ONTRAM. Also user assignments, those are default settings here. You can see first person in the workflow is the project manager user that I'm currently logged in as. Those are also changeable, so I can use another user at this point. You can upload additional reference material, let's say a PDF file, or also a previous translation if you want to. So now I'm going to start the job. And what's happening now in the background is that the TM lookup is taking place, but because this is how I configured this job group, we also have the lookup of the request of the machine translation results. So what you can see here is we have those little statistics. The green ones are the 100% matches, so 19% of the text is already filled and pre-allocated with 100% matches. We have a couple of fuzzy matches in here and also machine translation matches. Okay, so we also have more sophisticated statistics if you want to have a look at that. So you can see 100% matches and also quite a bit of machine translation matches. Okay, so let's just move on to the jobs that I'm currently working on. And this is the one that was already, that we just created. So let's log on to this job. Okay, and of course I'm not able to give you a full demo of ONTRAM today, so just a quick overview, so to speak, quick glimpse into how it's working. So what you can do is you can use the online editor of ONTRAM to edit the job. This is not only helpful for translators, but also for proofreaders, for example. So in a lot of cases, proofreaders are not professional translators. They're not doing that 8 hours a day. So they need a simple interface so they can use the online editor of ONTRAM for doing their review work, for example. So let's have a look at the ONTRAM page. So just give that a minute. Okay, so everybody should be seeing that now. So what we have here is the ONTRAM online editor, and you can see we have German as the source language and English as the target language. So we also have a little bit of icons here and a little bit of color coding. And that gives you an idea about what kind of matches we have here. So you can see here, for example, a 100% match. If I'm clicking on that, you can see, well, we have 100% match for das Reisebüro, which means the travel agency. And ONTRAM pre-allocated this 100% match, because this is what I told ONTRAM within the workflow. So every 100% match should be written into the target language, and for all the others, give me machine translation matches. This one, for example, is a machine translation match, and this orange marking. You can have a look at that. You can always adopt this. So if, for example, you would only want to show the machine translation matches but not to write them into the target language, you can certainly do that and then use this little icon here to adopt the matches or use keyboard shortcuts for that. Also, we have fuzzy matches. So this is a little bit like the word track changes. You can see what changed. So everything marked in yellow is what's new, and everything that is crossed out is not available anymore. So, and you can certainly use this match, for example, and you can choose a threshold if you want fuzzy matches to also be pre-allocated. So we have a couple of customers who are doing that this way. So they say well, I want all 100% matches to be pre-allocated, and I want matches up to 90%, well, 90% and better to be pre-allocated, and for everything else, I want machine translation results. So it's up to you how good your engine is, your MT engine, how trustworthy your previous translators are, what type of content you are translating, what kind of process you decide on.
Annika, we have one question regarding the translation match. Could you explain a bit further what this is, as some people were asking? Could you be more specific what translation match is?
Yeah, so in this case, for example, well, let's start with the 100%, the easier one. So you can see here we have a match that is 100% the same. So you can see here I created a little memory project before the webinar, and we have a translation for das Reisebüro, and now we are translating das Reisebüro. So this means we have translation memory match. This would be the match for the exact same source language text. And if we are looking at this one, what we have here is that we have a source language text that is similar to a source language text that has already been translated. So for all German speakers, so what we had as a translation was wir kümmern uns jedes Detail. So we take care of every detail. And now we have also functionality and care that we also have to find a translation for. So this is an 87% match. It's not the same, but it's quite similar. So if you don't have any MT technology, what you can do is you can adopt the text and then go in and let's say, well, with confidentiality and so on, we take care of every detail. And then you go through the document and have a look if every translation is fitting for your context. Okay, so I hope that answers the question. One thing I also want to show you is you don't have to necessarily open up those little pop-up windows. What you can also do is configure your view with an ONTRAM. So let's do that quickly. So we always have the source language and the target language, but we can also show additional columns. So for example, I want to show the translation memory column, and I also want to show the machine translation results. Okay, so and as you can see here, while we have the translation memory matches, we have those 100% matches and also those fuzzy matches in here. And we have machine translation. Those segments weren't sent to machine translations because they were 100% matches. Those, for example, those are the results for the machine translations for segment number 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so, and I already talked about the preview functionality. So if you want to have a look at how your translation looks like in the context, you can generate a preview for this. So I just clicked on this little icon, and this will give me a single page preview for this page. So for the target language text in the original layout. So you can see here how my text, so for example, this is what I just put in, looks like, and what I can do is this preview is clickable, so I can click here, for example, and it takes me back to ONTRAM, and my cursor is in the right segment, so I can then go ahead here and just delete this, for example. So this would be a single page preview. We really try to do that for all types of formats we're using the ONTRAM, so InDesign, Word, PowerPoint, but also for content management systems, for example, that we're connecting to. So just imagine that I was working as a proofreader right now, so I have been going through my document, going to other pages and see that there are a lot of machine translation results. There wasn't that much to begin with. And now what I could do, as somebody with the specific rights to do that, I can export my job, or I could also do a PDF preview. So we can generate a preview, for example. This is really helpful, as I mentioned, when you're doing proofreading work or editing work. So a lot of our customers use this preview PDF, have that on their desktop, some even print it out, and then they do their changes and amendments within ONTRAM. So let's open up the preview. What you can see here is the final document, so PDF in this case, but you also get out the InDesign file, how it looks like, and it's basically an InDesign that was machine translated and also used a little bit of translation memory matches. So, and if we're moving back to the overview page, what you would then do is transfer the job to the next person in the workflow. However your workflow might look like, as I said, they are fully customizable. If you want proof editors, post editors to work within ONTRAM, you can certainly do that. Okay, so let's move back to the slides and then hand over to you, Loïc.
Thank you, Annika. Thank you for this demonstration. Thank you for this presentation. Hello, everyone. I'm Loïc René, account manager at SYSTRAN. During this 10-minute presentation, I will introduce the company and the technology and how improve translation quality within the solution. Of course, we will come back to you in the next coming days to set up a demo of the SYSTRAN solution, because here the main point is to show you how we work with CLAAS within the ONTRAM tool. So the company SYSTRAN is a pure player in machine translation since 1968. So since April, the company is 50 years old, so we are very proud of that. We have an R&D department based here in Paris, and we developed our own translation engine. And as you can see, the latest one is the NMT for neural machine translation. So this technology is based on the artificial intelligence and deep learning. We have co-developed this engine with the Harvard University, with the NLP department for natural language processing. And after creating this translation engine, we decided with the Harvard University to launch the Open NMT community. So there are today thousands of contributors, and of course the main contributor are SYSTRAN and the NLP department at Harvard. Few references on the right. The main idea here is to understand that we are collaborating with all the industry: automotive, manufacturing, aerospace, bank, energy, IT, and gaming, for example, and to fit with multiple use cases. So we have customers that are using SYSTRAN machine translation to pre-translate documentation, to pre-translate text, etc. The idea is to stop the free online tool, and it's really important with the latest regulation, GDPR regulation. We have customers that are using SYSTRAN to manage the customer support or for the internal communication by integrating the SYSTRAN feature into the intranet portal. And of course, we are a language service provider or using this to help the human translator to manage the translation workflow. So here, an overview of the SYSTRAN server solution, the architecture. We deliver the generic engine, and as you can see on the right, the NT engine. So the free technology, the rule-based, statistical, and NMT. Today, mainly, the customer will use the neural machine translation. On top of that, the customer has the ability to add continuously at the beginning of the project and continuously the linguistic resources. It could be the SYSTRAN dictionary, but in the main case, it will be your linguistic resources, and linguistic resources, this is your translation memory and glossary. After that, we will create with the customer translation profile. So behind the translation profile, we link translation memory and dictionary to create a translation profile. It could be a translation profile for marketing, communication, legal, finance, technical. And the end user has the ability to use the SYSTRAN machine translation through many different ways. The first one is directly through the web interface, the secure web interface. It's like an internet portal, is the HTTPS protocol. The other one is by using the plugin for the MS Suite. So you will just have a SYSTRAN button into your Word, PowerPoint, Excel environment. The second way is the ability to use SYSTRAN within a product such as ONTRAM with a direct connector. And the last one is through the API. So SYSTRAN could be integrated into any third-party application. The solution is scalable, so you can we can build with you the good IT architecture regarding your need, the throughput you want, the user that will use the solution. And it's a very important point. It's a secure solution. So we deliver solution for on-premise, so you have the ability to install the solution into your IT infrastructure. And of course, we provide private cloud with hosting partners such as OVH in France, in Europe, sorry. It's a French company. It's the leading hosting provider in Europe. So the focus here is how to improve your translation technology continuously within SYSTRAN. So there are 3 levels to improve the translation quality. The first one is the professional services. So we launched these services with the neural machine translation engine, and this is the PNMT for pure neural machine translation specialization. So before the project, we collect the linguistic resources of the customer at minimum 40K aligned segments for each language pair. And here in Paris, linguistic experts will retrain engine on GPU machine during 5 working days, and the result will be a customer specialized MT engine. So we will deliver to our customer their own specific engines. It's like intellectual property. The first results we have with these professional services are very good. And as you can see on the right, the blue score is really improved with the specialization, with the SYSTRAN specialization. So SYSTRAN will do it for you before the project. The second level of translation improvement is the linguistic customization. So it's you will have the ability to improve continuously the translation quality. And of course, we will train you and show you how to use it. So it's a solution feature. It's not professional services. It's a solution feature. So I mentioned this idea before. So as you can see on the screenshot, in SYSTRAN, you have the ability to directly import very easily. You can import your translation memory and your glossary directly into the linguistic resources part into the platform to create your translation profile and your translation memory and dictionary. It means that if a user is translating a document or a text within the platform, it will fit with the terminology of the industry and of your company, because the system will recognize certain sentences, certain technical words or financial words, specific words, etc. And the last one is the user feedback. So the previous line, linguistic, in the previous one, the level 2 for linguistic customization, we give the ability to resource manager to do it, because the idea is to have a sort of a control on the translation improvement. Here, we give the ability to all the users to directly submit translation requests to the system to improve continuously the translation quality. And of course, behind this translation request, a validation workflow will be used to control this translation improvement. And this is the resource manager that will receive alerts by email, for example, to validate or reject this user submission. And this is the third way to improve continuously the translation quality. As conclusion, here you have the added value of the SYSTRAN Pionero machine translation. As I mentioned before, is the ability to have your specific translation environment that fits with your terminology industry and the terminology of the company. So we deliver a translation engine tailored to your domain. So PNMT specialization, it's professional services, but we will deliver training to your key user, to your administrator, IT administrator, and resource manager to be able by yourself to customize by adding dictionary and translation memory into the system, and you have an unlimited volume of TM and dictionary, and the ability for the user to have the feedback. The second one is the secure information. So since 1968, we deliver our service to industry in the for security organization. So we have customers in many Ministry of Defense, OTAN, Europol, Interpol, etc., US Army, Ministry of Defense in France, etc. So secure information is really a focus for us, is really a big topic. So we guarantee data privacy and safety, and for that we deliver on-premise installation or private cloud. And the last one is the user experience. So we give the ability to the user to use the SYSTRAN machine translation directly from PC, smartphone, and tablet. Of course, as Annika showed, you have the ability to find your SYSTRAN environment into your ONTRAM tool. But the idea is to use SYSTRAN across the company, across your IT system, and find the solution to fit with many use cases, internal collaboration directly into your intranet, or Skype for Business. If you chat with a colleague in Chinese, for example, you will have a SYSTRAN button. The translation productivity to help the translator to manage their daily work. The multilingual content management, if you want to add your SYSTRAN, the SYSTRAN solution into an enterprise content management system, and manage your customer support with SYSTRAN. So you have the ability to use in 100% the machine translation to translate customer support requests in Chinese, in Spanish, in Portuguese if you are a German speaker. So thank you, and Olaf, it's you.
Okay, everybody. My name is Freitas. I'm from the company CLAAS. We are producing agricultural machinery and we are selling them worldwide. So we have a lot of translation on our hand. We are producing our documents mainly in 3 languages. That's German, English, and French. And source languages are up to 40. So we have a lot of demands for translations. We are customers of SYSTRAN and ONTRAM, and I would like to show to you how we are using both systems and how they could be combined, but that's what's also part of the show of Annika. So please go to the next slide. Yeah, thanks. So for us, the human translator still produces the best output quality, of course. At least when you have a translator that is that has a good who has a good training for the corresponding domain. So for us, agriculture and engineering, it's a combination where it's not so easy to find good translators. But anyway, now we have them. Main benefit of a human translator is also that he is resilient to faults. So when you have typos in the source language or some strange words, a human translator can correct them and directly produce the right translation. And if he doesn't know how to work with this input language, he can at least ask the customer, so he can call back and ask. That's something that the machine translation is not able to do. So what we are doing mainly with human translators, that's permanent content. So things that have a long value and make sense to pay human translators for that. And also safety and legally relevant documents, for example, operator's manual. It's much too risky to use machine translation, although the quality is getting better and better. You won't be dependent on the legal correctness of that text using a machine translation. And also, third layer is the corporate identity language. So when you need very precise wordings, you also need a human translator right now. Okay, on the other side, we have the machine translation. And we're using that whenever human translation is not possible because it's even too expensive or just takes too long. And that's typically the case when you have input information that is very it's only meaning for a short time, like news or an email or something like that. Or when you want to do some research in the internet and you need some translations of Chinese web pages, you have no possibility to send that to a translator. You need the translation now. And also our intranet, we have that and most of that in one language, and we add translation capabilities for that. One other case is for inbound communication when we have description of our clients for warranty claims. We also use the machine translation to get an idea what the text really means. And if it's relevant to or critical, then we also do a human translation there. And also MT is very interesting for the privacy of after-sales data for us. That's why we are using the on-premise MT solution. That's an example of our integration in the intranet. So we just always have this header there where you can select the source language and target language, then just click on a button and the page gets translated. It takes some time, but it's it's working very good for many users, and we're using it for some time now. So what is the best way? Doing TM or MT? Well, it depends. MT always enables us to do translation of more content, because a lot of content would never be translated by humans because of the cost and the time. And MT, since it's so fast, it also enables new processes. So an automatic translation enables a direct response, for example, or direct handling of inbound communication. On the other side, the TM enables, for example, complex workflows. We've seen before a very simple workflow in the ONTRAM system by Annika, but you can also create quite complex workflows with proofreading and MT and content preparation, etc., etc. We have workflows in place at CLAAS with, I believe, more than 10 steps with different variants within the workflow. And the TM enables humans, because it's a system for humans, to work efficiently. So everything that can be automated, like informing the next person in the workflow, can be done by the system. And very interesting also for us would be the combination of both. So we have a TM system with the machine translation in one step. We're not using that right now because we don't have any use cases in place where we have post editors available, because that's of course a necessary step to review the results of the machine translation. And the big benefit of ONTRAM for us is the big amount of filters that we use. So for us, we can translate information from InDesign, PowerPoint, or web content management system, PIM system, etc. So whenever a new text is created within a brochure of a new product, we can directly reuse the translation in the next PowerPoint, and the creation of the new web page, and the description of the document and of the product and the PIM system. But we're also using it for technical documentation, creation of training documents, and even SAP data and SAP UI labels, and everything within the same system and the same memory. By the way, we also have a direct connection from SAP to SYSTRAN, so this warranty claim text is collected in SAP and then directly translated with SYSTRAN. Okay, good combination of both would also mean a cost reduction, because normally post-editing is much cheaper than translation, but you need post editors that are available for your domain. That's sometimes a bit of a problem. Okay, for us, the next steps would be the integration, translation of SAP UI labels, and we are working on leveraging the combination of terminology TM and TM in more processes. So we are always trying to integrate the translation in existing processes and try to avoid copy and paste of documents or text. And that's an ongoing job we will do the next years. That's what I wanted to show from our CLAAS perspective. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Olaf. So we received quite a lot of questions during today's session. So I suggest that we begin with a question for Annika, because she received quite a lot. The first one would be, does ONTRAM have its own translation memory program, or is it linked to third-party tools?
Okay, No, ONTRAM comes with its own translation memory engine. So that's the ONTRAM TM engine. So all the functionality like fuzzy matches, 100% matches, and so on. This is all ONTRAM technology. So maybe just to give you a bit overview, so ONTRAM is a process and workflow optimization tool, project management tool, but also has the functionalities of a TM system. So as you saw, the online editor, for example, comes with ONTRAM, and also the VMT engine, emailing system, workflow engine, and so on. So it's what we call a translation management system. So that means process and workflow together with the TM engine inside.
Some other question was several questions actually on this subject. How can existing company terminology can be used within ONTRAM system for personalization?
Yeah, I skipped over that today because I didn't want to confuse you with too many details. But what you can do is you can use your company's terminology, upload that into ONTRAM, or also edit those terms within ONTRAM, and then have them displayed within the online editor. So maybe you can just quickly jump in, because I still have that open. Okay, so if we are opening that up real quick, this one. So what you can see is that you have a little bit of color coding in there. So for example, the terms Reisebüro, I can click on that, and then it will show me the terminology for that. So you can see here, should be translated as travel agency, and this is the preferred term for that. So this would be a blue marking, and for things like product names, for example, that are the same in source and target language, this light green. So you can see a Tropicana should always be translated as Tropicana. We also have QA checks for that, so that you can make sure that your terminology is really used within the target language, for example.
Thanks a lot, Annike. Now I have a question for Loic on neural machine translation. Can the OnPremise solution also run neural machine translation engines? So can they run locally without any connection to the internet?
So the answer is yes. So as I mentioned during the presentation, we have the ability to provide an on-premise solution installed into your IT infrastructure, so it can run without IT internet connection. And this is a pain point for the defense and security industry, the ability to use this solution in total security without internet access. And sometimes you have a site where the internet does not exist. So the answer is yes.
Another one for Loic. How intuitive and easy is it to improve translation quality with machine translation? Is there any training involved, and what kind of users are implicated in this process?
Okay. So, of course, we train the key user to be able to improve the translation quality. For example, it could be an ONTRAM user because they know what is a translation memory. They are a translator because they are using a translation management system. So we can train them to directly improve the translation quality within the SYSTRAN platform. And for instance, we will show with Annika, we'll show them how to export the translation, the linguistic resources from the ONTRAM environment to the SYSTRAN environment. And this is a good process because the ONTRAM user, that are mainly translator, will be the key user for the translation improvement. So they will export the linguistic resources from ONTRAM to SYSTRAN, and they will feed the SYSTRAN environment for all the users of the company across the company.
And maybe just to chime in, so what you could also do is for doing this relearning, this training of the machine, is that you could create an automatic workflow step within ONTRAM, and then you would need human involvement. So then ONTRAM would send the translations, the export directly into to SYSTRAN, and then SYSTRAN uses that for retraining the engine.
Another question for Annika. You were showing in the demo the connection with Adobe. So does someone need to buy the licenses? Are they somehow included in the package? How does it work? And also, if you have input files from other translation management system, do you offer a connection to be able to integrate them within ONTRAM?
Mm-hmm. So in the case specifically for the InDesign integration, so it is using an InDesign generation server in the background. What we do for a lot of our customers is that we give them access to a shared server. So that connects to ONTRAM. The preview functionality that is used within ONTRAM is free of cost for translators, for example. So translators don't have to buy a license of InDesign in order to be able to see the preview. So this is just from a server side, so the ONTRAM server and the InDesign server are connected. The second part of the question, so ONTRAM is connecting to a lot of different systems that are available in the enterprise context. So of course the whole Office suite, for example, so PowerPoint, Excel, Word, is what we normally find. A lot of XML content coming from different content management systems, product information management systems, so all types of enterprise systems that you might have in place there. I don't know if that answers the whole question. Feel free to ask, or we can chat at a later point.
Yes, I think we won't have the ability to answer all questions. We will take one last one, and then we can come back to you individually when it's not addressed. So just to all speakers, I think this is a question for all. What is the level of productivity increase that can be achieved through machine translation memory and machine translation integration in ONTRAM?
So maybe I can start with the machine translation part. So we have a customer that told us that they really had a return of investment by integrating the machine translation to manage the customer support, because they give the ability to all the customer support agents to manage the request from customer all around the world, and it doesn't depend on the language. So and of course, if you give the ability to pre-translate content for all the user, it's a sort of return on investment in terms of time and money.
Yes, so maybe so it depends a little bit on the process that you have beforehand. So we find that in a lot of cases, so for example, if you're doing InDesign translation, there's a lot of manual work and a lot of copy and paste work done, be it within the company or be it as the service provider like an advertising agency, for example. So if you have a process like this, there's really enormous potential to be saved there. And otherwise, if you already have a pretty good process in place and you're only, in quotes, adding translation memory technology, I would say something around 30 to 40%. But as Luc mentioned, we also have customers who have a return on invest in the first 6 months of using ONTRAM. They were connecting product information management system and didn't have any TM beforehand, so it's really quite a quick turnaround there.
Okay, so I think it's almost time. Thanks a lot, Anneke. Thanks a lot, Olaf and Loic, for being there with us. I'm sorry we weren't able to answer to all questions, but we will definitely come back to you. We would like to wish you a great day, and of course we will be in touch in the upcoming weeks with the follow-up recording. And thanks for being here today. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.